Your brain is lying to you every single day in a way you can't even feel. Harry's the disturbing part. Studies on willpower suggest that over 80% of people who set a goal abandon it within weeks, not because they're lazy, but because their brain was never built to rely on motivation in the first minutes. Have you ever felt fired up one night, ready to change everything, only to wake up and feel nothing, like that fire just vanished into thin air? That's not a character flaw, that's biology, working exactly as designed against you. By the end of this video, you will know exactly how to fix this and why almost nobody does. But first, you need to understand something about your own mind that most people go their entire lives never discovering. You've been told the problem is motivation. Get more of it, and everything falls into place. Watch enough videos, read enough quotes, hype yourself up enough, and suddenly, you'll have the drive to change your life. But neuroscience tells a completely different story. Motivation isn't a switch, it's a chemical. Specifically, it's tied to dopamine, the molecule your brain releases in anticipation of reward. And here's the twist. Dopamine isn't designed to last. It's designed to spike, then crash. It's a starting gun, not a fuel tank. That's why you feel unstoppable. After watching an inspiring video, and 3 days later, you're back on the couch, wondering what happened to that version of you. The version of you that exists is the same. The chemical just left the building. Think about every time you've tried to start something big, a new diet, a new workout plan, a new business idea, the first fee. Why days feel electric? You're a different person. And then it fades. Not because you're weak, because that's exactly how dopamine behaves in every human brain on the planet. Here's where it gets even more uncomfortable. Researchers studying behavior change have found that people who rely on emotional highs to drive action are actually more likely to quit than people who feel nothing at all when they start. Read that again. Feeling excited about your goal might actually be working against you, because when the excitement fades, and it always fades, your brain interprets that drop as a signal that says, this isn't working anymore, stop. So you stop. Not because the plan failed, because the chemical did exactly what chemicals do. Now, here's the part that should genuinely concern you. This isn't a one-time event. This cycle repeats every single time you try to change something, unless you understand what's actually happening underneath it. Your brain has been quietly running this program your entire life. Every failed New Year's resolution, every gym membership that went unused after January, every brilliant idea that died in a notes app. All of it traces back to this one mechanism, and here's where it gets really dark. Picture this happening inside your skull right now. Deep in your brain, there's a structure called the limbic system, sometimes called the emotional brain. It's ancient. It evolved millions of years before humans could even think in complex thoughts. Its only job is survival. Seek pleasure, avoid pain, conserve energy. Now picture another part of your the prefrontal cortex. This is the newest, most human part of your brain. It sits right behind your forehead. It's responsible for planning, long-term thinking, and willpower. Here's the problem. The prefrontal cortex, the part that controls every decision you make, is under attack, constantly, by a much older, much more powerful part of your brain that doesn't care about your 5-year plan. It only cares about right now. When you try to rely on motivation, you're essentially asking your newest, weakest system to win a fight against your oldest, strongest system every single time. And the limbic system has a secret weapon, comfort. It rewards you instantly for staying the same. Skip the workout, instant relief. Eat the junk food, instant pleasure. Stay in bed, instant comfort. Meanwhile, your prefrontal cortex is offering you a better life in 6 months. Maybe Your brain, like every human brain, is wired to choose the guaranteed reward now over the uncertain reward later. This isn't a flaw in you specifically. This is a flaw baked into the architecture of every human being who has ever lived. Scientists call this temporal, discounting the tendency to devalue rewards the further away they are. Your future self, the one, with the body you want, the business you want, the life you want, to your current brain, that person, barely registers as real. It's almost like a stranger. Why would you sacrifice for a stranger? This is why willpower alone fails so often. You're not fighting laziness. You're fighting millions of years of evolution that rewards your brain for protecting energy and avoiding risk, even when that risk is simply trying something new. Every time you felt that pull to quit, to scroll instead of work, to snooze instead of rise, that wasn't weakness. That was your limbic system doing exactly its job, the job it's done since before humans could speak. So, if your brain is already this wired against you, what can actually change it? That answer is both simpler and more surprising than anything you've heard before. Harris, what the top 1,000? There's about of performers figured out that nobody talks about. They stopped trying to feel motivated, and, instead, they built systems that didn't requestion ire feeling anything at all. This is the shift. This is everything. First, they made the first step. Embarrassingly small. Not go to the gym for an hour. Instead, put on your shoes. That's it. Why does this work? Because your limbic system resists big changes, but it barely notices small ones. Neuroscientists call this bypassing the brain's threat detection system. When the action is small enough, your brain doesn't sound the alarm. And once you're moving, momentum, not motivation, carries you forward. People who use this method report starting tasks they'd avoided for months, simply because they removed the size of the first step. Second, they attached actions to existing habits, not to feelings. This is called habit stacking. Instead of relying on how you feel in the warning, you attach a new behavior to something you already do automatically, like brushing your teeth or making coffee. Your brain doesn't need motivation for automatic behaviors. It just needs a trigger. When you stack a new habit onto an old one, you're hijacking a neural pathway that already exists, instead of building one from scratch. Third, they tracked actions, not outcomes. This sounds backwards, but it's the opposite of what most people do. Most people obsess over the result, the number on the scale, the dollars in the account, the followers on the page. But outcomes are slow, and slow feedback kills consistency. High performers track whether they showed up. Did I do the thing today? Yes or no? This gives your brain a small, immediate sense of progress every single day, which keeps the prefrontal cortex engaged, instead of starving it of feedback. Fourth, they designed their environment to make the wrong choice harder. Willpower is a terrible, long-term strategy because it requires constant effort, but environment requires effort only. Once want to stop scrolling at night, charge your phone in another room. Want to eat better? Don't buy the junk food in the first place. When the wrong choice requires extra steps, your limbic system, which seeks the path of least resistance, naturally drifts toward the right one. Fifth, they redefined what discipline actually means. Most people think discipline means gritting your teeth and forcing yourself through pain. But neurologically, discipline is just a habit that's been repeated enough times that it no longer requires a decision. Discipline isn't the opposite of ease. Discipline is what creates ease. Eventually, every action you take today is a vote for the wiring of your brain tomorrow. Each of these isn't just a tip. Each one is a direct workaround for the exact mechanism that's been working against you your entire life. Small steps bypass the alarm system. habit stacking hijacks existing pathways. Tracking actions gives your brain real-time feedback. Environment design removes the brain for willpower entirely, and redefining discipline removes the shame that keeps so many baboon teeth stuck in cycles of starting and stopping. But doing all of this means nothing unless you understand the one final piece most people never even hear about. Here it is, the one idea that then changes everything. Discipline doesn't come before change. Discipline comes from change. Small, repeated, almost invisible change, done consistently, long enough for your brain to rewire itself around it. Remember that statistic from the beginning, the one about people abandoning their goals within weeks. Now you know why. They were waiting to feel ready, waiting for the motivation to return. But motivation was never coming back, because it was never built to stay in the first place. The people who succeed aren't the ones who feel the most fired up. They're the ones who figured out how to act without needing to feel anything at all. They made it small. They made it automatic. They made it part of who they are, not something they have to convince themselves to do every single day. You are not broken. Your brain was just never shown the right path. Every single thing you've struggled to stick with, it was never about strength. It was about strategy. And now you have it. So here's your call to action. And I want you to actually do this. Not just nod along today. Pick one thing, just one. Make it so small it feels almost silly. Not read for an hour. Read one page. Not meditate for 20 minutes. Sit quietly for 60 seconds. Attach it to something you already do. Track it with a simple check mark. Do that, and only that, for the next 7 days. That's it. That's the mount. Subscribe, because there's a part 2 coming that goes even deeper into how the world's highest performers rewire their identity, not just their habits. Your brain has been running the same program for years. Today, you found the override switch. Don't wait for motivation. It's not coming. Build the system and let the system carry you.